The dying out of the British nation means the dying out of Christianity. Soon, Britain will have more practicing Muslims than practicing Christians. In Britain today, 30 people a day are arrested for offensive posts on social media, according to The Telegraph. You should want the decline to stop, and you can make it happen.
Charlie Kirk wasn't just a conservative voice. He was a Christian witness. So we cannot let that witness be silenced. You've probably heard the news about Charlie Kirk's assassination. Around the world, people are shocked, others are grieving, and yes, some are even celebrating. The devil wants to silence Christians, especially men who refuse to hide their faith and who dare to call out the evil in this world. And that's what Charlie Kirk did in his final speech at the Oxford Union. It wasn't just a political moaning, it was a call to action for Christians in England. He showed us what happens to a nation when it turns away from Christ and how we can reclaim it, starting with you.
If I was visiting this school 100 years ago, speaking in support of an American president, I think we would at least have some broad agreement on what a country's leader should be trying to do. But we don't anymore. I don't think it's because America's changed. In fact, I think it's because Britain has changed. From my perspective, Britain is one of the greatest countries in the history of the world. You were the country of Shakespeare, the steam engine, and Adam Smith. You defeated Napoleon, you destroyed the slave trade, you stood up to Hitler. My country, America, became great as it is because of what we inherited from you, from Britain. When I hear the slogan, "Make America Great Again," I'm also hearing, quote, "Return America to its British roots." Great Britain has everything in the world to be proud of. But when I look at Britain today, I see a country where the ruling elites are in a race to abandon the very values, the values that made them so great in the first place. I wish I could blame this all on labor, all on the left, but I can't. This country just had its 14th uninterrupted year of so-called conservative rule. And what did they conserve exactly? Well, they didn't conserve the ancient British rights to freedom of speech. In Britain today, 30 people a day are arrested for offensive posts on social media, according to The Telegraph. Praying silently within 600 feet of an abortion clinic can get you arrested in Scotland, as a 74-year-old woman named Rose just learned weeks ago. Members of Parliament scold British citizens for thinking they have the right to say that they do not have the right to say things that offend Muslims. 14 years of conservative rule didn't conserve British prosperity. Adjusted for inflation cost of living, the average British worker makes less today than they did in 2008. Outside of London, the British have lower incomes than every one of America's 50 states, and it never used to be this way. British industry pays 4 times as much for electricity as America does. You have the highest electricity rates in the world, a consequence of a choice of going net neutral. Nothing will kill a modern economy faster than high energy prices. And the country that invented the steam engine now has some of the highest energy prices on the planet. But above all, 14 years of conservative control didn't preserve the British nation. This country's conservatives thought it was their moral duty to allow anyone from the third world to move here. They didn't need to hold Western values. They didn't need to have useful skills. They could go on welfare immediately. Just last week, Keir Starmer announced he's changing the law to make sure immigrants who commit crimes are deported, because the conservatives never actually bothered passing that law themselves.
So lost prosperity fractures families. When wages stagnate and prices rise, the media talks about GDP and inflation rates, but here's the fruit. Dads and mums are forced to spend more time at work just to make ends meet, and less time with their kids. The childcare crisis is just a natural result of a system where ordinary families cannot survive on one income. And what does that mean? It means that fathers aren't at home as prophets, teaching their children truth at the table. The state steps in with more after school clubs, nursery from 2 months to get women back into work. TikTok fills the gap. That's the plan. Satan wants nations poor so families break. In our house, we homeschool. I work from home so I can be present with my wife and my kids, and my wife is with the kids during the day. It's not easy. It's financially hard, but we do it because nothing is worth more than being the primary teachers in our kids' lives. And lost freedom silences fathers, right? Kirk is right. 30 people a day arrested for posts online. A grandmother arrested for praying silently. My brothers, if they can scare and shame you into silence out there, then how long until you stay silent at home as well? That's exactly why whoever did it shot Charlie. Not just to silence him, but to scare you. But your kids need to hear you speak truth without fear, even when it costs you. And lost sovereignty leads to unguarded homes. For decades, Britain's leaders have flung open the gates, saying anyone can come without values, without skills, straight onto welfare, even if some of these people openly hate our country. So don't just think this is just politics. Prosperity lost, freedom lost, sovereignty lost. That's the devil's three-pronged attack on you and your family. And it's not stopping there.
The dying out of the British nation means the dying out of Christianity. Britain is the birthplace of Baptists, Methodists, Presbyterians, Anglicans, Quakers, and more. I would guess that more Christian denominations trace back to Britain than any other country. But soon, Britain will have more practicing Muslims than practicing Christians. I think that will be a catastrophic change, and everyone knows it. That's why it's only Muslims moving to Christian countries, never the other way around. I don't want America to go the way of Britain. I want us to remain free. I want us to remain rich and innovative. I want us to remain Christian. I don't want Americans to be replaced. But forget what I want. This is what the American people want. And in a democracy, the people are supposed to get what they want. The very same people that lecture us about democracy have a lot of problems with the consequences of democracy when the people vote a way that they don't like.
You know what struck me the most was how comfortable Charlie was saying this to a secular crowd. That Christianity is something to defend, something to be proud of, something worth dying for. He didn't hide it. He didn't separate his faith from the fight. He didn't let separation of church and state silence him. He knew if Britain loses Christianity, freedom falls with it. If fathers lose faith, families fall with them. And now they've tried to silence him. If they can take out a mainstream Christian conservative voice, then what about the fathers being silenced every day at work? What about men not mocked in their neighborhoods, losing jobs because they speak truth? Brother, this is why we must pray, why we must intercede. We cannot allow our kids to grow up in a generation where they don't even know what freedom in Christ looks like. Charlie said just Saturday that Jesus died so we can live. Now he lives with Christ. He didn't sacrifice his family for his platform. Like his wife, his children, they were with him at the rally where he was killed. Not abandoned by him. He showed us what it means to lead at home and stand for Christ in the public square. And I'll be honest, for a long time, I was scared to mix my faith with my politics, to say out loud that my loyalty to Christ shapes everything I think and do. And Charlie Kirk inspired me to stop hiding. And brothers, I pray that he inspires you as well. So this is the truth, fathers. This is your God-given calling. Here's the warning from him. Satan and corrupt men will try to strip it away from you if you let them. But you won't. Because Christ equips you to lead. Charlie Kirk is with Christ, okay? But his witness is not silenced. And neither will yours be. Rise up, my brother, my fellow watchman, because your wife, your children, your home, our nation, they're worth it.